The name of the exhibition is Okla, here at the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art. We decided that it would include 6 artists. That's Patrick Blackwell, Goode, Jerry McMillan, and Ed Ruscha. But I was fairly insistent that it include both Paul and Mason Williams. Many of these artists have national, international reputations. And I think what is important is that most people don't often recognize that they got their start in Oklahoma as art students. Now granted, the majority of their career was spent in Los Angeles, but I think it's important to see that this is as much a part of Oklahoma's art history as it is the nation's art history or the world's art history. There's still something that is identifiably Oklahoman that is part of their artistic DNA.
These guys are all still alive and making art, and thank goodness Mark decided to do something about it. So that was wonderful, and including me. I was really not expecting that, but I'm glad he did, and I'm happy to be here and represent the other guys who are all now in their 80s. I don't know if they want that known, but they're still producing. As far as art goes, you had to be pretty creative to want to make art, and these guys really, they had to get away from Oklahoma and just, interpret the feeling that the state had given them where they ended up, which was in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And it always seemed to me like Oklahoma City imitated the West Coast in its architecture and just the feeling of it, this kind of dazzle, the Hollywoodness of it.
It's good to point out that they spent their formational years in Oklahoma. All 6 of the artists grew up here, and it wasn't really until they reached their later teens, in many cases, that they decided to leave Oklahoma and head to the West Coast. And most of them have remained on the West Coast. In fact, only Patrick Blackwell now lives on the East Coast. And so Oklahoma has continued to influence their careers in a variety of ways. And you really see that in the show. One of the reasons it's called OKLA is that there is a juxtaposition between their memories, their experiences in Oklahoma, and those that have happened in Los Angeles. Many of the ways in which their friendship manifested was through their training as artists. And so, Jerry McMillan, as a photographer, is taking a number of images of his friends. And so you see a lot of images of Ed and Joe and Mason and Pat in the exhibition. And so there was always this kind of, this sort of humor, this kind of acting out through art in their career early on, and I think that just continued. There's a lot of dry wit in the show, which I would think of as being something very Oklahoman. But I mean, one of the people included is Mason Williams, and Mason was a comedy writer for the majority of his career, and was the head writer for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And so I think the humor has to be part of this show.
But I wanted to do something that utilized what I was dealing with every day, but in a gallery setting, and so I thought that it would be a perfect way to have toilets surrounding the table where you could just sit down, eat, and then just keep, flushing it, and the circle of life.
So the exhibition is titled OKLA. It will be on view until March 7th here at the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art. You can get more information on the museum's website, ou.edu/FJJMA.